And so, we're pampered. We're pampered, and we're becoming more pampered all the time here in the God realm. And so, my job, my self-appointed job is to kick your ass this week. I plan to kick your ass. And hopefully you'll get jump-started into a different life. And there's no possibility of a happy life without that. Okay? And if you don't believe me, just go try the boats again. Try more boats, try more, cool, Lonely Planet vacations to someplace else. And try another teacher. Maybe another teacher will make you happy. Maybe another teacher, I'll find a teacher who's nicer to me. Right? And eventually, any teacher is going to kick your ass. Any good teacher eventually will kick your ass. Because that's the only way to do it. It's hard. We're so committed to our unhappiness that we need somebody to come and pry our fingers loose. We're grasping on to the very things that are making us unhappy. And primarily, one of the primary things that we're grasping onto that's making us unhappy is our attachment to us, to ourselves, to our identity, to our individual, particular egos. And thinking about ourselves all the time, and thinking, what's going to make me happy? And is this going to make me happy? Is this going to work out for me? Is this the teaching I wanted to hear? Is my teacher telling me what I wanted to hear? You see? Like you know what you want to, what you should hear, you see? Then you're your own teacher. You don't need a teacher if you know what you want to hear. If you know what I should hear, see? Then you're your own teacher. So good luck. Go, good luck, All the people who are their own teachers don't need to hear anything from me, see? But if you're willing, if you're tired of being unhappy, then I'm a representative, I'm a sales rep from a company that has a product that will make you happy. I didn't invent the product. I can't take credit for the product. I'm not, I could never invent the product, because what do I know? I'm like you. I couldn't figure out how to be happy. But so I went to the people, the specialists in happiness. That's a spiritual tradition. There's the specialists in happiness. That's their product. That's always been their product. That's why they've lasted. The real authentic traditions have lasted for thousands of years because they work. They deliver the goods. The product that comes out of the factory are happy people. And you look at the exemplars of that. Is the Dalai Lama happy or what? You see? He can hardly contain himself, he's so happy. I lost my country. If he were depending on outside circumstances for his happiness, the Dalai Lama would be, he would be on Prozac. His life has been, from the outside, right? For the outside circumstances, the whole thing crashed. He was living in this palace. He was the president. He was like the king and pope at the same time of Tibet. He had everything. And all of a sudden, boom, a refugee. No country, no place to live, no nothing. See? And he's like, well, you think he wasn't paying attention to the outside? He didn't understand what was going on. He's like, had some kind of disease, a mental, kind of attention disorder. He didn't notice that his country was taken away from him or something like that? He doesn't notice it? What do you think? So what does he know that we don't know? See, what's his secret? What's the people like that? And he's not alone, of course, there's all kinds of people who are exemplars of this. Have nothing to do with external circumstances. Doesn't have anything to do with the money or the boat or the house or whether you have a country or not or whatever. It doesn't have anything to do with it. But there are some people who know that they have some secret to happiness. They're the people who went to the happiness industry. They went to the only people on the earth who have they have a monopoly on happiness. The spiritual traditions have a monopoly on the business of happiness. There is nothing else that will make you happy. Consumer capitalism will not make you happy. Consumer capitalism is doomed. You heard it here first, okay? Doomed. Totally doomed. It will not last out maybe the century. Because it doesn't work. And many of us are waking up to that. See? Many of us are waking up to the fact that, we came to the end of the rainbow. We got to the end of the rainbow. It started in the 1940s, post-World War II. Where, after World War II, America, came into its own, became this great industrial giant. And the average what do you call it? Income, average income, the average way of life has doubled since the 1950s. For everyone, you see. You know, some of us are old enough to remember, you know, nobody rode airplanes in the 1950s, I'll tell you that, okay? That was for very, very rich people, right? I remember when my dad brought home the first TV, okay? And that was a big luxury, big luxury. See, people didn't have the kinds of things that everybody has now, see? And in direct concomitant, as a direct concomitant trend, people are getting more and more unhappy. And, you know, as like gauged by the use of Prozac, for example, or other antidepressants. 1 out of every 10 adult women is on some kind of antidepressant now in America. So in almost the exact proportion to our increase in wealth is the increase in our unhappiness. Why is that, kids? See, what is that suggesting to us? Is that, you know, we got suckered in by consumer capitalism. Consumer capitalism promised us happiness through goods. And then we got all the goods. And then we weren't happy. And then we really crashed. Because then, well, what's left? See, we got everything that the ideology promised, and then I'm still not happy. And then it was like, well, I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with me, you know? Maybe the stove was good for everybody, the new stove was good for everybody else, but, you know, me, I'm a big loser because I didn't get happy with the new stove. Or something, I don't know exactly. But, you know, we can't, we have to try something different, quick. Consumer capitalism will not last. The religious traditions have lasted, I'll say it again, because they work. And you know, this is a kind of a modernistic, this is a typical secular modernistic idea. That, you know, they've got these like 3,000-year-old, 4,000-year-old religious traditions that are just, you know, goofy. That are just like, you know, completely wrong-headed, superstitious and wrong-headed. How the hell did they last that long? If they were all wrong. If they were wrong, see? Wouldn't at some point somebody say, you know, some father would come to his son and say, well, you know, son, you've come of age now, and I'd like to pass on to you our holy tradition. It's never worked for me. I've never gotten happy as a result of it. Your grandfather passed it on to me. He wasn't that happy. Didn't work for him either. But he was passed on to by his great-grandfather. And now it doesn't really work for any of us, but here it is for you. And please pass it on to your son. Don't you think at some point they would think, Dad, couldn't we try something different? Couldn't we try something that would actually make us happy? That would lead us to live for, you know, rewarding, productive lives? Can we try something like that, Dad? See, it lasts because they work. If you do them right, you see, if you learn what they're teaching and you practice them in your life, then it will work for you. And if you're not getting happier by practicing your religious tradition, and again, it doesn't have to be Buddhism. Christianity will work too. Judaism will work. Okay? Hinduism works. They all work. They didn't last so long if they didn't work. But if you're practicing any one of the great traditions, now I'm not talking about like some New Age thing that was invented in 1957 or, you know, 63 or something like that. We don't know if those work yet, actually. Haven't been time tested enough. Okay, haven't test-driven them long enough. Inspector number 14 hasn't put their little tag inside of those. Okay, they might. I'm not denigrating them. See, but we just don't know yet. It's too early. You need a couple of millennia, usually. Okay? So if you're fortunate enough to have been put into a contact with a couple of millennia old tradition, and you start practicing it, and you're not getting happier as a result, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. You've decided, well, I'll practice this part of it, but not that part of it. Or, I'll get to that other part later, because right now it's a little inconvenient for me, because I'm busy, buying new boats, or whatever. If you do it right, it will work for you.